Hey everybody, what's going on? So today we are going to talk about a few things with wood splitting, so whatever, but I had this axe, which is the Husqvarna splitting axe. Sometimes you see it referred to as the forestry axe. Supposed to be kind of an all-round axe where you can chop down trees and also split with it. To be fair, I had only chopped wood of any sort with it 3 times before today, maybe 4. And I've owned this thing for like 4 years. Why? Because this went in my forestry belt and was used for banging wedges when I owned the tree service and we were climbing and felling trees. I didn't do firewood splitting then. I didn't sell firewood then. I really don't now. I've got a big log yard of a bunch of cottonwood, silver poplar, willow, Russian olive, ash, locust, different things like that, honey locust, that I am trying to clean up because unfortunately it's on a friend of mine's property that's not doing very well physically and health-wise, and so I need to get it cleaned up for him. And I've got lots of wood out there, which is where you see me cutting wood and stuff from time to time with my chainsaws and different things. I'm actually going to start bucking up and splitting wood because I've tried to give the firewood away out here and nobody's come and gotten any. So I'm going to start actually bucking it and splitting it. So you'll see a lot more about that on this channel, just as a consequence of that. But that all being said, once again, I'm not trying to act like I'm experienced splitter. I have split quite a bit of wood in my life just for personal use, and haven't split any wood that I know of, like probably none in a decade, pretty close to it. So, you know, the Husqvarna, what is this thing called? Or Husqvarna, whatever you want to call it. I forgot what model this is. 2400 gram. It is the 70 centimeter handle, which I want to say is 27 inches, if I remember correctly. It's really reviewed quite heavily online and stuff, and that's great. I just thought I'd give my opinion on it, not because I have a whole lot more to add than those guys, but just because each person uses them slightly different. We have different kinds of woods. Where we're at's different in our physically in the world, but also geographically, but also physically how we are as people. Unfortunately, I shut down the tree service company and quit climbing specifically because of medical issues. Once again, that all plays a factor. So the more opinions and experiences we have with these tools, I think, are the better. And each person can explain them slightly differently. And therefore, if you research enough, maybe you'll find the information you want, right? So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about this axe here. And we're also going to be talking about the Fiskars Xa22. I already did a review on this, but we're going to talk about it a little bit differently now that I used it in conjunction with splitting wood. And also, this is an intertool axe. On Amazon, they were like, oh, I don't remember, $25 when I bought it or something. And I hated this tool. I hated this axe. It was awful. And as an axe, it is awful, to be honest with you. But I made my own. This is technically a HOOKAROON, I guess. But it's kind of a pickaroon. It's like the hybrid between HOOKAROON and pickaroon. And a lot of people use the term interchangeably, and that's fine. I'm not trying to correct you guys. Technically, there is a difference between a HOOKAROON and a pickaroon. The Fiskars, or however they say it, because somebody was saying it's actually a name of a city or a town, I should say, a village. Fiskars or something like that, is a HOOKAROON. You can see a very specific beak on that. And this one has a beak, but it's slightly less curved. So it's kind of more of a pickaroon. And some picaroons, like some old school picaroons, are extremely flat on the bottom and just round over and are used for grabbing and stuff. So let's talk about the different kinds of profiles and the axe and what I think about them and how I used them and what I found in my use. I cut wood out here. I split all this wood, not that it's a lot. This is about an hour and a half's work of lazily working. I was not like trying to push production. I don't care. I'm getting some exercise and I am, you know, short or compacting the footprint of this, and I'll eventually just give it away to somebody. Most of this wood, so this pile is probably 80%, maybe even 85% silver poplar. And then there's a little bit of ash. This piece here on the ground that I didn't finish splitting because I just realized I was a little too tired to keep going. But this piece here, dang, is a piece of velvet ash that I had that I was splitting. And this is the other half of it over here. And so there's a little bit of that. And this stuff is about 18% dry. So not dry for woodworking dryness, but pretty dry for splitting. It's not green at all. And so it made me realize a few nuances with these tools. So first off, splitting with this axe, I actually really like it. Now I will say my one thing about this, and where I think the Fiskars, I could be wrong, but I think Fiskars actually made this axe, or still does make this axe for Husqvarna. It's got the composite handle on it and things. They are slightly different, but one thing is, it is a little short for me as a tall guy. I would like it to be slightly longer. Usually when I'm running a splitting axe, not a maul, a splitting axe, I like them to be close to 30 inches. This one's 27. For carrying it in my forestry belt, this was great because walking through the woods and around brush and branches, it was short. It didn't hang down too low. It kind of hit my like upper calves, but not my heels when I walked, and it was in the holster back there in the belt. So banging wedges, this was great. Love the weight of the head. It's super solid, even though it doesn't seem like it would be. It has a strike plate here, but more than that, it's actually solid inside here. Because when I got it, I thought this was going to be kind of hollow and kind of weak. And this was the only protection it was giving you, but that's not the case. The whole thing's pretty solid. And this thing has banged a lot of wedges. It's pried a lot of trees. It's gotten a lot of bars unstuck by prying and wedge hitting. And the head's still pretty tight. It's banged around in the back of my truck. It's very nice. And for a splitting axe, it's really easy to use. It does have a coating on it that's supposed to be anti-stick. That is, of course, always a question as to how well it works. It has the mill marks on it, so it's not super smooth. And I have a lot of rust because it's set in the back of my truck. Not a lot, but some. And so all of that plays a factor. You know, you could wax this, and you know, one of the guys online, I can't remember his name, maybe Thor is his name or something. He WD-40s them, and that he says that helps them not stick, which is good. So overall, it worked really, really well. I like the overstrike protection on it for sure. The handle is super comfortable in the hand. This is a like grippier material. This is just like the fiber comp stuff, which is almost like fiber, like a coated fiberglass or something like that. But this is like rubbery on the handle, and it has the knob at the bottom that keeps your hands from slipping off too bad. you know, it's not impossible for your hand to slip off, but it keeps it from slipping off too bad. Whereas this here, this I guess is technically a rubber grip, but most of this is fiber comp, smooth, slick. Feels plastic, but it's not. It's technically not a plastic. It's way stronger. So keep that in mind on both the Fiskars handles that are fiber comp and the Husqvarna ones. They are not technically a like just a standard plastic. They're way stronger, work way better. And overall, I really do like this axe. It splits super consistently. It's easy to aim. I didn't have many problems of, I mean, I'm very what's the word for it? I'm very out of coordination with all this. My muscle memory is not where it should be in things. So I'm not as consistent or coherent as a lot of guys online that do this every day, but it works really well. It takes very little effort to get your strike and swing. I mean, that's pretty sunk into that silver poplar stump. And I'm just dropping it in because it is very head heavy, right? The head is extremely heavy in comparison to the back end. So if you don't like a very one-sided weight on your balance on your axe, then this might not be for you. I do find that the handle is really short for me. I missed a few times, and this is about the height, more or less, that I like my splitting stumps to be. Could be a couple inches taller, but with that being the case, with the short handle, if I miss, it misses the stump a lot of times and comes back at me. So that is one thing to keep in mind. I'm 6'2.5" or 6'3", I don't know, something like that. So that's, you know, definitely if you're in the like 6 foot range and a little shorter, that would be probably a good length for you and a good axe. So keep that in mind. Easy to get a power stance with it and strike. You know, it didn't stick terribly bad. Well, not one of them got so stuck that I couldn't get it out. The ones that I struggled with more were a bunch of these pieces of silver poplar were hollow in the center. They were punked out in the center. And with that being the case, even though it was a bigger round, the mass wasn't there to hold it. So a little technique that I use, and I've seen some others use it, but I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, is if it's stuck, I put my hand on the head and hit the handle. You know, a lot of people hit the handle. And then if I have to, I can pull up on the handle with my hand on the head. And the reason for that is, and this is only for pieces that have no mass to them or are lacking the mass to get the head unstuck. And the reason for that is that it puts pressure down on the head and you can lever the handle back and forth and get it out. And it works really well. If you have a big, like, if one of these ash pieces was up here and it got stuck, you wouldn't even have to worry about that. Just use both hands if you want and hit on the handle and it'll come out. That's only for pieces that are like not, the mass isn't there, even though the weight isn't there, even though the volume is bigger. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, yeah, overall like it a lot. It's super comfortable in my hands. This one's even nicked up because the chains on chainsaws have torn into the, cut into the handle, and I didn't feel it at all. I do have a blister on my hand, but that's because I have weak hands these days. But I didn't notice any of that using it. This is really a good, I like it. It's really nice. So moving on to the Hookaroons, Pickaroons, whatever. This Fiskars Xa22, you know, I don't hate it by any means. I'm really trying to like it, but I have some challenges with it, to be honest. Bunch of people said they felt like it was flimsy. Using it regularly for what I was doing with it, picking up wood, putting it on the splitting stump or splitting block, or picking up pieces and throwing them in the pile. I didn't feel it was flimsy at all. I don't think it's poorly made at all. Once again, my biggest complaint so far, I have 3 complaints about it that for me make it less than ideal. 1, the handle's too short. For me, I would have to bend over more to pick something up, and that is in part to 2 things: the handle being short and this hook being pronounced downward. And that's not it's okay. That's a design, right? That's how they do it. But the truth of the matter is that for me, like, I have to stick it like that to get it to stick. Your handle's almost parallel to the horizontal to the ground, or like that on the edge or something. And you'll notice that when in the videos I'm using this, whatever stump I'm using it in, that I kind of dedicate a stump on the side to kind of like stick the tools in so that they're easy to grab. I always hook this one on the far edge, because that's the easiest way for it to stick, and it's the easiest way to get it out. If I do it up here, I have to like almost put the handle down at the ground, and it's less comfortable. So that's one. The second is it has very little mass to it. And while, you know, I was working and I'm chopping and I'm starting to get tired, I would want to reach for it because I know in my head this is lightweight. The problem was it's so light that I have to use quite a bit of effort to like pound it into the wood, especially on like ash, which that is. And I would have to hit it 3 or 4 times to get it to go in. Whereas this one that I made, first off, you'll notice that when I was using it, I almost always stuck it in the top. Oh, I didn't even. So I would almost always stick it in the top because it's easy to do so. I can even like strike it like that and have it up at an angle. It's easier to grab. And the mass is so much in the head that like I just have to flick my wrist, and this is really hard ash, and it's in. So the lightweightness of this, I don't think is a bad thing. If you're older or weaker, and I don't mean to make fun of people, that's not the point. But if you have like bad shoulders or whatever, and you don't have the same strength you once had or would like or whatever, this one might be good for you. But know that if you're going to use it in hardwoods, you have to really like put that thing in there or it doesn't want to go. And it makes it hard to pick this up without really giving it a whack. Whereas a heavier headed one, you wouldn't have to do that with. And so I found myself using this Fiskars and then kind of regretting it at the same moment, especially as I got more tired. Now, where I will say this one excels. Oh, and the third thing I didn't like about it is how hard it is just to get it out of the wood. Once you get it in there, especially if it's on like long grain, it digs in a little bit. If you get, let me rephrase it. Once you get it to dig, it can be really hard to get it out because of the narrow profile of it. But what I did find this one to be handy for was grabbing. Like when I wanted to roll a stump over or whatever to split it, grabbing and pulling with this is really nice. Or if I needed to move stuff around on the pile because it started to fall, it's lightweight. It makes it really easy to grab with. It's not a bad tool for that at all, which once again, HOOKAROON, right? They use for hooking stuff. Like if I had brush around, I mean, I have some over there, but it's stacked. But if I had brush around, I can see why European folks use the HOOKAROON to pull brush with that. It just makes sense. This though, just made more sense for getting it in to the wood and carrying it around. Now, it is heavier and you notice that weight, but still overall, with a flick of my wrist, essentially, I can get this, well, if I can make one solid move, I can get this and put it up on the stump or put it in the pile or whatever. The other thing that I noticed that was a difference was when I was working with picking up firewood. So with firewood, I would go on the ground to get it, and I'd really have to like strike it with this thing. And sometimes I'd even have to butt the firewood up, like if it was a harder piece with a knot or something, I'd have to butt the firewood up against the butt of this splitting stump and like whack it to get it to stick in the end grain. Whereas this one, it just stuck. I mean, I don't even have to like, I don't have to have it up against my foot or the stump. I can just swing it like that and gravity hits it and it sticks into the firewood. Here, I'll show you real quick. Here's a piece of silver poplar, right? It's got a knot in it. So with this one, it's in. And that's actually in more than I would like. And that is the one thing with that one being heavier. Tends to do that. With this one here, it may or may not. I mean, that's kind of in there, but not nearly like that one was. If I started walking with that, it would have fallen out most likely. That one, it went in pretty good. So it just depends. But I find that I had more misstrikes with this one for two reasons. I have to bend over more with it, and it didn't seem to stick in the wood as much. That's just my opinion on it. Do I like it though? I think it's a good. I hate that it sounds negative toward the Fiskars because it's not a bad product. It's just if I only had one, I would want a heavier duty Pickaroon or Hookaroon than I would this. This is a little lightweight. If I was using it to pull brush, pull logs, like small logs over or cants over, if I was using like an Alaskan mill and I wanted to roll it and I had my cant hook on one end and we needed to get the other end to roll and we didn't have another cant hook, this would be great. If I need something to pull firewood rounds or split wood out of the back of a pickup truck and I didn't want to have to get up in the bed, this would be great. This one would do all of that, but it's much heavier in the hand, especially when you're reaching at the very end. It's just heavier on your wrist and your arm. But picking up firewood, picking up rounds to put on the chopping block, whatever, this one wins without a doubt. And I made that one in like 20 minutes. Well, I guess it was about an hour total. Out of a $27 axe, this one cost me 60 bucks or 50 something dollars or something like that. So, once again, don't hate them, but in a real, like I've done my reviews on these in the past were based on picking up this wood and moving it around. Using them in real life applications, I found that this one I wanted to use 3 times more frequently than this one. So, yeah, I don't know. It just, you know, they're different, right? And so what may be better for one person may not be as good for another or vice versa. So I hope that helps you guys out. Pros and cons of this one, definitely cheaper. Has a longer reach because I picked an axe with a longer handle. Even though I don't like this handle a whole lot. I like the head, not the handle. Eventually I might bust this out and put it on a wood handle. Easier to pick up firewood on the ground, have to bend over less with it. Sticks into hardwoods better, comes out of the wood easier. It wins. It just wins. Cons to it, it's heavier. And I don't like the handle because it's a piece of junk tool to begin with. And you have to do the work. So you have to make that to make it happen. This one here, pros and cons real quick. It's too short for me. Shorter people wouldn't have as much of a problem. The head doesn't want to dig in very well in hardwoods. And when it does finally dig in, you've had to use a lot of effort as a general rule. And it's harder to get it out of the wood. It does not want to come out sometimes once it does get in the grain. It's also harder to stick this one in cross grain, like this ash. It's really hard to get it to stick in the grain sideways if a piece is like perpendicular to you. And it is deceivingly light in the sense that you want to grab it, but then you realize, well, I have to use more effort to do everything with it because it's on your, there's no mass to it, it's on your muscle. Pros to it though are that it is lighter. So if you're hiking into the woods and you want to carry it with you to do firewood work or whatever, then this would be a good option, being smaller. For smaller people, it would be good. It is really well made. These little teeth, even though they don't seem like they're very significant, they actually do pretty well at grabbing so that you can push wood. They're not super pronounced. I wish they were actually a little bit more pronounced, but they do grab, just like you can see I'm pushing that around. And it's not something that's going to break the bank, right? It's only like, it's under 60 bucks. So comes with a nice little carrying case if that matters to you or whatnot. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it has its pros and cons like everything. Don't hate it, just not in love with it. This one I'm in much more love with, to be honest. But I hate the handle. I dig the head. And yeah, I'm going to keep using both of them. I mean, look at the difference in length in these. That just kind of shows you what I'm talking about. Woo, yeah, that's a good hand's length longer, which is significant, right? When you're bending over and stuff. So hopefully that helps you out. The axe, like it a lot, but it's way too short. I'm going to cut my shin one day with it. I got to get a higher stump or something. Everything around here is either too high or too short. So I've got to find something in between, and I think I found one. But yeah, the axe I really like. It's a good axe. One bad thing, you can't change the head to a different handle that I know of. So that's not great. But I'm not complaining about that. I'll continue to use it, and I'll probably look at a different one to see if I like it better and go from there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it's helpful for some of the details on these. I'll be playing around with picaroons more, and we'll go from there on what we're going to do and what's going to happen. So thanks for stopping by and checking out. I'll see you guys in the next one.